Hello, my creeplings. We're back with a new one, released in wide release last year. I had seen this one advertised. I saw some of the cast list on this, and saw the hype around it, and I thought this looked actually really good. So when I saw that I could pick up a copy pretty easily, I jumped on it, and I'm just now getting around to watching it. But I was pleasantly surprised. We watched Late Night with the Devil today, and now we're going to talk about it. This was directed and written by Colin and Cameron Carnes, I believe is how you pronounce the last name there. They also did the editing on that as well, so we're getting into the full-on, family dynasty, or not family dynasty, sibling wonder duos, I'm guessing. I haven't looked up much about these two, but if they keep churning out good product like this, I might. Lots of big production and distribution names on this. Looking at the distribution companies, IFC Films, Shudder. This was a big deal in some circles, just simply because of that. Originally released at South by Southwest Film Festival here in the United States on the 10th of March, 2023, had a wide U.S. release on the 22nd of March, 2024. So, pretty recent for me anyway. This is considered a supernatural horror film, and this was an interesting one. The biggest names involved with this are our lead actor, who the character's name is Jack Delroy. He's played by David Dalmastian, which we've also already talked about him from Last Voyage of the Demeter. I've seen him in other things. He's turning out to be somebody I'm gonna keep an eye on. And then some of these names look familiar, but I'm not quite placing where. So we have Laura Gordon as June, Ross Mitchell, she's a parapsychologist and author. Ian Bliss is Carmichael Haig. He's a former magician turned skeptic. He's based on a real-life person named James Randi from Australia, I believe, because Randi was involved in a similar altercation with Australian late-night host Don Lane. I have not looked this up. This is just in my notes. Faisal Bazi, I am so sorry. Let me try to repronounce that. Faisal Bazi, I'm assuming. I'm sorry if I butchered your name, dear. He plays Christu, a psychic, in the form of, what? Criswell, but Criswell was an obvious, hoax. But yeah, late night, it's psychic, I see a name, I see a spirit, more like a medium, more like a medium than a quote-unquote psychic. Ingrid Torelli is a little girl, she's probably in her late teens, playing a younger girl named Lily Dabo. She's the survivor of a mass suicide and cults. Reese Auteri plays Gus McConnell, Jack's sidekick. Georgina Haig plays Madeline, Jack's deceased wife. Josh Kong Tart as Leo, the producer of Night Owls. Steve Mousakis as Sandor Dabo. Paula Arundel as Diane, Christopher Kirby as Phil, John O'May as Walker Bedford, and the other big name that I clocked as soon as he opened his damn mouth, our narrator in the beginning, is Mr. Michael Ironside. God, I miss Michael Ironside. He's a fixture in mid-80s through mid-90s sci-fi and horror. The Arnold Schwarzenegger Total Recall, the last season of Sequest DSV, V, the Final Battle miniseries, and I think the TV show as well. um, Scanners. He worked with Cronenberg a lot in their early years because they're both Canadian film people. I imagine that they knew the same casting directors and names would often overlap. We will definitely be bringing Michael Ironside up more in the future. So, but yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised to hear Michael Ironside's voice opening up the narration on this. But I'm digressing a little bit just because I'm cooing a little, fangirling a little over Michael Ironside. So, Late Night with the Devil is a supernatural horror that is displayed to you as a documentary on a late night talk show. I think here in the States, the Tonight Show-esque, about one episode that went really wrong on Halloween in, I think it says 1977? Yes. Yes, the film's prologue is framed as a documentary investigating an unexplained event that occurred on the night of Halloween in 1977 during the live broadcast of a 6th season episode of the successful variety late-night talk show Night Owls with Jack Delroy, which competes for ratings with The Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson at the time. So this is very funky 70s in its color scheme and fashion and hair, and we got some mutton chops and some bell bottoms, and yeah... I'm kind of trying to get my Farrah Fawcett hair going. Actually, this looks more like Sue Snell and Carrie in the Brian De Palma version. But yeah, I'm kind of channeling my inner 70s girl here. I just wanted to go and say that. So, Night Owls is based out of New York City, hosted by Jack Delroy, played by David Dalmastian. They talk about his rise to fame, and during this rise to fame, through his celebrity connections, he makes regular visits to the Grove, which is an elite California camp for wealthy and powerful men. This is actually based in a real thing. I cannot remember if it's actually called the Grove in our reality, but there is a YouTube channel called Illuminati, and it's spelled Naughty, I believe, that does all these deep dives on things like MLMs and dark history, and they did one on this. If I remember to link it below, I will. Fascinating subject matter, and watching that, ironically, I watched that just kind of randomly last month before I watched this. And then I watched this and I'm like, oh shit, yeah, I know what they're hinting at right there. But again, I'm digressing. So if you want to know a little bit more about the real life equivalent of the Grove, there is information out there on it. So that's an elite California camp for wealthy and powerful men. And during his rise to fame, his wife, Madeline, who is a successful Broadway actress in her own right, contracts and dies of lung cancer. Night Owls halts its production at that point in time to let Jack grieve. And, eventually he returns in order to boost the show's low ratings. He does a special occult-themed Halloween episode. A lot of talk shows would do stuff like this. I specifically remember characters like Elvira being brought on around Halloween, bringing Vincent Price out and randomly interviewing him for things. Even going back as far as the 60s, like the Red Skelton Show and some of these other variety shows would bring on semi-retired horror icons like Boris Karloff to do themed shows. So this is very much in vein of what was happening at the time. That carried on well into the 80s from what I can remember. So, special guests on the episode include self-proclaimed psychic and medium Christou, a skeptic and former magician named Carmichael Haig, there to, debunk anything. And a parapsychologist author, Dr. June Ross Mitchell, and her latest subject, 13-year-old Lily Dabo, who is supposed to be possessed by a demonic spirit. So you got a little bit of everything, all kinds of flavors of weird on there. So during the broadcast, Chris Sadu does the Long Island medium. I'm getting a name, I'm getting a letter, I'm getting this. He strikes out on, I think, his first two. On his third one, he gets lucky. He successfully connects with a mother and daughter over their son/brother who killed himself. And, okay, they're getting ready to wrap up the segment, and Christu just starts grabbing his head, and he says, I've got an M, I've got a mini here, looking for an unmarried man wearing he's gripping his head like he's got a tumor that's, causing him pain. And they cut to commercial, and he calms down. He's like, I've lost the connection. So they sit him on the stage, and they bring out, what's his name? Carmichael Hay, who starts to basically be an asshole. So, when they come back from commercial, Jack reveals that his private nickname for Madeline was Minnie. And Carmichael starts causing, I don't want to say causing problems, but doing what he's supposed to do, which is trying to debunk all this, and starts talking about how, Jack might have been in on it. Well, Christu's just constantly getting sick. He starts vomiting this black, disgusting projectile vomit. And so they wrap up the segment, rush him to the hospital. And they chat a little bit about it. And Carmichael's got to sit for the next segment, which is June and Lily. Lily is the sole survivor of a mass suicide by a satanic church and its leader, Sandor Dabo, that worshipped the demon Abraxas. So Jack persuades Lily and June to do the whole, let me communicate with Abraxas. Lily's tied down to a chair. June's at first, it seemed like she might have been on board with it when they contacted her to do the show, but now she's like, no, I don't feel comfortable. They kind of back her into a corner. She's like, finally, she's like, fine, we'll do this. Because apparently Lily's been kind of acting up a little all week. They were having some issues with Abraxas earlier, and they know she's had never met Jack before, yet she knew his name and knew all kinds of stuff. It was kind of weird for June, and June was trying to, go for the safety of all of it and was overridden. She refers to the entity as Mr. Wriggles because he wriggles into my brain and wriggles right out, which it's interesting. I like it. The actress, again, what's her name? Ingrid Torelli. She did a very good job of being that slightly unnervingly off kid. Looking back on it, you don't quite know if Abraxas was there the entire time and puppeting Lily instead of being locked away and able to be pulled out. It's very convincing and very good job by this young actress. So, okay. They convince June to do this. They go to commercial break. Now, we're told during commercial break that Christu actually died in the ambulance. he basically puked his guts out and died from all the vomiting. So yeah, it was, and like they're trying to keep it hush hush, but it's starting to trickle through the crew that something's going on. So they come back. They've got June and Lily front part of the stage, kind of off the raised area where the chairs usually are. And June does this, kind of guided meditation, and Lily is put away, and Abraxas comes out, and Abraxas starts saying things like, "I've missed you, Jack," or "It's nice to see you again, Jack," hinting that they had met before. Also outright implies that he's been having an affair, or having relationship, because he's not married any longer, he's a widow, with June, and talking about meeting Jack under the tall, tall trees. And they managed to get Abraxas put back in the box, or at least that's what it appears to be. And the show continues. Carmichael's not having it, so he's gonna challenge. He's like, "I'm gonna do the same thing you did." Although I don't know how he was going to get the chair to levitate, because yes, Lily did the chair levitation and all the classic signs of possession. So he takes Jack's sidekick, his, Ed McMahon, his Paul Schaefer, Gus, sets them up in the same spot, and basically he does a mass hypnotism where again we're going to these really cool effects. Gus has a fear of worms, and this mass hallucination, this mass hypnotic trance, sees Gus thinking he's infested by worms and starts tearing his skin off. Again, the mix of practical and CGI in this movie is actually pretty good. There's only a few spots that I think some of it was more from the projectile vomiting section that looked a little fake, but the rest of it definitely kept my interest going. So, like, this is a practical effect where you see him tear his stomach open and just worms. This huge worm comes out from his eye socket. It was just disgustingly gross. It definitely did its job. And then snap back, we're all back to normal. They do the playback and just shows Gus and the entirety of the audience falling for the hallucination via hypnosis. So they go to... June's like, "I did not do a parlor trick. What we did was real." And Lily pipes up with "Well, you'd believe the playback, right?" Looks right at Carmichael and says, "Playback our section, and you'll see that what happened was real." And they go back and they play it back, and yeah, it's unaltered. Jack is horrified, though, because he notices Madeline's ghost standing behind him in the footage. But Carmichael, of course, being the professional skeptic that he is, accuses him of orchestrating everything. And at this point, Lily becomes possessed again. She's not tied down. There's no fettering here. I personally don't think she was possessed again. I think she was, like, that was Abraxas in the driver's seat the entire time. But that's just me. We get this really cool head splitting open effect and begins to glow, and she brutally kills everybody except for Jack. Jack is suddenly transported into a nightmarish version of the show. He goes back and relieves moments from his past in the show. before they go even farther back and reveal the connection to the demon possessing Lily. Turns out the Grove is a cover for that same demonic cult. He made a pact with the devil at the Grove, sacrificing his wife's soul in exchange for fame and success of Night Owls. So thus, he was indirectly responsible for Madeline's cancer. Madeline's ghost begs Jack to put her out of her misery as the cancer is causing pain. During this, he goes to stab her, and it's the ceremonial dagger from Lily's former cult. He stabs her to death, her being Madeline. And then the scene shifts to a now empty studio. Jack realizes that he has stabbed and killed Lily live on television, and he stands over the bodies of his dead guests as police sirens approach. And we end the movie on that. So we don't get the documentary closeout, but if you look in the bottom corner, it'll say transmission ended, and then it changes it to like something, what was it? And so it ends, and then it goes back to transmission ended. I'm wondering if that "and so it ends" was Abraxas putting his footnote in. Because a lot of this, deal with a demon, it never comes out the way you want it to. Never. So this was a multi-nationality production. We had an Emirati studio, American studios, some Australian studios. This was filmed in Australia, if I remember correctly. Shot in Melbourne, Australia, utilizes practical effects and digital effects. So, like I said, it's a pretty good blend. There's not like a whole shit ton of effects, but the ones that they use are very impactful. Especially that worm bit. Ooh. That made me kind of feel a little wriggly myself. So this grossed $10 million in the States and Canada, $5.5 million in other territories. Did very good. The critical response was actually pretty good. I would definitely suggest giving this one a ride, especially if you like that 70s vintage look. They filmed this to look like this was recorded on old stock film. Like you found this on some dusty ass beta cassette tape in your mom's basement because, early days of video recording at home, the quality wasn't very good. But yeah, it had that real vintage feel. If you like possession and supernatural thrillers, this was definitely a good one. Please excuse me, the yawns are back. Yes, I highly, highly recommend Late Night with the Devil. David Dalmastian is actually turning out to be someone I'm going to be keeping an eye on. It's, interesting because he just kind of came out of left field for me, but apparently, he was cast after the directors saw that he had written a piece for Fangoria. So it seems like he's been in the genre, involved in the genre in some way, shape, or form for a while. I'm gonna, be pretty blunt here. I kind of got out of following the horror mags for a while. 1, because they were getting too hard to find. 2, because they were expensive. And 3, there was just a lot of dreck going on. But oh god, back in the day, I used to get Fango and Rue Morgue and Starlog. I would pick all that stuff up whenever I had, extra coin. Um, Horror Hound when I get the chance, you know. So for me, hearing that he used to, you know, he wrote a piece, at least one piece for them, you know, kind of makes me smile a little. He understands the genre if he's writing, you know, about the genre. So yeah, give this one a chance. This one was actually really, really good. Um, but on that note, we're gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna go probably watch some more movies. I look forward to seeing you next time. So I'm just gonna say it. Good night, my creeplings, and say it with me. I'll see you next time. Bye.